EAGLES, Eagles.
Welcome in, everybody, to a Thursday edition of Birds 365 here. Days are running together early on me, Johnny Mac. Welcome into a Thursday edition, everybody, here to break down what went on. The new league year has officially begun for the NFL. Johnny Mac, how you doing in this Thursday morning, brother?
Doing well. Yeah. Happy new league year for those who like the NFL and celebrate that kind of thing. We are officially on to 2025 from a business standpoint. So that's meaningful.
Yeah, your 2024 team is done and dusted officially, and we are now on to the 2025 football team. And they made a little bit of moves yesterday, Johnny Mac. Not many, but they did sign their first external free agent. They brought back our boy Ben VanSumeren. Will be back, and he was listed as a fullback. We'll talk a little bit about that. The trades became official and potential future Hall of Fame. I don't know if he will be or not, but Darius Slay is officially gone from the Philadelphia Eagles. I thought maybe he would end his career in Philly. He does not. He has signed a one-year, $10 million deal with the Pittsburgh Steelers. John, let's start with the Eagles' first signing. AJ Dillon, running back AJ Dillon. They picked him up yesterday. This is a guy that fans have talked about for a long time this season. It's a guy you've talked about, because you thought he was a good fit in previous years. Well, he's coming off a major neck injury, a neck stinger that kept him out the entire year last year, but the Birds pick him up on a one-year deal. Johnny Mac, where do you stand on A.J. Dillon becoming the newest Philadelphia Eagle?
Yeah, I mean, I like some things. I don't like other things about it. Obviously, I've always liked the player. I advocated, I remember talking about A.J. Dillon and thinking about getting him pre-Saquon Barkley, and I always thought that it would be a good type of back to have. The Eagles were always obsessed with this,
right.
Well-rounded running back that's got to be involved in the passing game, and that was always their outlier. And you remember me making that. They don't use the running back in the passing game, so what's the big deal? I always wanted to see a big physical one-cut runner behind that offensive line to see what it could look like, and that was pre all the next stuff. So I always liked the player. Massive, just powerful, just red zone. Dominated in Green Bay at times. People couldn't tackle him. The quadzilla. He's got bigger quads than Saquon, if that's possible.
Mm-hmm.
Always liked the player.
Legion of quads in Philly.
Yeah. Always liked the player. But, there's a reason he's out there at this stage. There's a reason he's getting a one-year deal. Haven't seen the numbers yet. I would imagine it's going to be near the veteran minimum. Maybe gets a little bit of incentives if things work out well. At first and foremost, you have to worry about the injury, because it's a very serious injury, certainly for a physical running back, the neck. You saw the national guys make a big deal about him being cleared. That's obviously being fed to them by certain people. So for our propaganda fans, that's the propaganda. Oh, he's cleared. He's fine. I got to see it first.
Right.
So I like the player. I don't know if he's healthy. We got to just wait and see. And then I'm not sure about the fit, because now you do have Saquon Barkley. So I don't know what this means. Are they shifting to more of a tandem approach to save some touches on Saquon Barkley? That's going to piss some people off. If you're in a big moment and they say, oh, we got to rest Saquon Barkley, that's going to piss some people off.
I mean, I like A.J. Dillon, but I don't think he's David Montgomery.
No, he's not. He's not. But even from that standpoint, Detroit faces the same thing, because when they're in a close game, people want Gibbs on the field. Everybody does. They want the better player on the field. So you have to be very disciplined. And then just the nature, the old cliche around the NFL is thunder and lightning. When you talk about running back pairs, you generally want to change up. You want to change up. And Saquon's unique because he can do everything. But, if I'm going to compare him to somebody, it's, because he's awesome with the jump cuts. He's got the breakaway speed. That was Adrian Peterson back in his prime. But they're physical. First and foremost, they're physical backs. They're not jitterbug backs. You know, Saquon's 232 pounds, who has quads outrageous to anybody not named AJ Dillon. He's a big, powerful back. And you're bringing in another big, powerful back. I don't necessarily like that redundancy as opposed to having
Right.
the thunder and lightning approach to give the change up to defenses. But
Yeah. I thought your baseball analogy was great last night.
yeah, I mean, you know, pitchers set up certain pitches by throwing other pitches. So, you know, you throw the curveball to set up the fastball. You throw the fastball to set up the curveball. You throw the slider to set up a changeup. But whatever. You don't throw fastball. Well, you can.
Eventually someone's going to crack it.
But yeah. So that's some of the good, some of the bad. But most, number one, is he healthy? Nobody knows. He didn't play last year. I mean, that always scares me.
We'll get into the health stuff in a second. I want to go back to the Thunder thought process. Is it possible, John, the team is thinking double down on the physical approach? If you think about it, they've been a very physical team. That's kind of become their identity in the last, development in the last year. They doubled down on it with Saquon Barkley. They doubled down on it after the bye week when Lane Johnson and company met with the head coach. Hey, we want to bully teams. Well, now you got Saquon, and then when you get a break from Saquon, you got another bruiser coming in. I kind of agree with you. I think there should be some difference, but because they're such a physical football team, I actually do think there might be some advantage to just continuously being physical no matter who's on the field. Any merit to that?
Well, they're very physical, and I think they're finally embracing that. I do think, there's no more real talk about, we got to get Austin Eckler type to help as a receiver. Who cares at this point?
Yeah, right.
So I do think from a standpoint, this indicates they're embracing that reality. And I think it's more meaningful, to be honest, and you don't want to think about this, but if Saquon can't play a game, I think it's better to have this guy as a backup. It's almost like, if he's healthy, it's almost like if Saquon's healthy, I'd rather have Will Shipley in there. And if Saquon's hurt,
Right.
I'd rather have AJ Dillon as the lead back.
Right.
And maybe that's going to be their approach to it. You need three backs. And Will's going to get a chance to compete. I think everybody turned the page on Will Shipley way too quickly when they made this deal. They want to bring in competition for all these young players, but secretly, their hope is that Will Shipley turns in. This ain't a long-term deal.
Right. It's a 1-year deal. Probably. Yeah. Did the numbers come out as a vet minimum?
I'm assuming no, they haven't come out. I haven't seen them. I'll text later this afternoon. But yeah, I can't imagine. He might get some incentives, but especially coming off last year where, so it might be spun as, something that's 1 year, $3 million, but it's really the veteran minimum with some incentives.
I saw that thing you put out, by the way, from Andrew Brandt yesterday. For anybody that didn't see that, you should definitely go and check that clip out. Yeah. John retweeted that about
well, I've been saying that exact thing for years.
I know.
Andrew did it. Andrew negotiates contracts, so you see it from somebody who's done it, saying the exact same thing I say on the show.
He was literally a GM, though. Yeah. He was like, agents asked me if they can fuddy the numbers like crazy, and if that was what it took to get the deal done, we let him do it.
Yeah, exactly. So, you might see something like 1 year, $3-4 million, and it's really 1 year veteran minimum and some incentives. So that's my guess. But maybe it gets a little bit more than that, but certainly nothing drastic. And it's always a concern. And the second concern is, through his rookie contract in Green Bay, he was a really good compliment again to Aaron Jones, who was their lead back at the time. And again, look at the contrast. Aaron Shippy, great receiver, and then you bring in the big bulldozer. So I like that their contrast. And as a rookie, averaged 5.3, then it was 4.3, then it was 4.1, then it was 3.4. So it was always going in a negative direction. So those are some of the concerns.
Yep, no doubt about it with AJ Dillon. John, talk a little bit about that neck, just because I want to give people who didn't catch our segment last night what the heck happened. So for those who don't know, a neck stinger, and I'm not a doctor and I'll never profess to be one. I'm not smart enough for that. I just talk football with you guys. But I believe it's nerve. It's nerve based in your neck. So anything that deals with nerves, it can affect your, other parts of your body and stuff. And it's, very fragile. But in week 17 of the 2023 season, so not last year, but the season prior, the 2023 season, in week 17, AJ Dillon suffered his first neck stinger versus the Vikings on December 31st, at the very end of the 2023 year, suffered his first neck stinger. He missed the remaining game and the playoff game the Packers had that year. And then he was set to come back for 2024. And during a joint practice in August last year versus the Denver Broncos, he had his second neck stinger, and Green Bay put him on the IR, and he was done for the year and did not play. Now, John, if he's been cleared, my concern is less about is he healthy right now. My concern would more be, is he going to get another neck stinger? Like, why did he get two right away, if that makes sense? You know what I mean? Like, he got one, then he gets another one, in training camp. Who's to say he's not going to get one in training camp this year? If he's healthy, I feel like he'll be all right, but who's to say that a third neck stinger can't happen?
Well, and they shut him down really quickly.
Yeah.
Maybe that had to do with, he got shut down before the regular season. So if you do that, you're out for the season. Maybe it was just as simple as they liked their running back depth. They didn't care who's going to be out for 5 weeks, and they just shut him down for the season. So that, I'm going to text some people in Green Bay today and see what happened. But so but that he was a pretty valuable piece to their puzzle.
Right.
And they shut him down really quickly.
Right on IR. It's not like he was the 53rd guy on the roster.
No, that's my biggest concern is why did they shut him down so quickly? Because typically neck stingers, while problematic, and I don't want to downplay them, they're not season ending. If there's not something they're concerned about on top of it, and maybe it's just as simple as he's more susceptible to them. And he is cleared, so you have to rely on the doctors, and they say he's cleared and ready to go. But while I'm not going to dispute that, they're the experts. From a football standpoint, I've been around too long to realize that guys who've sit out a season, there's a lot of optimism, and then all of a sudden something else happens.
Right.
Justin Evans is a player. If anybody remembers Justin Evans, was a really good safety early in his career, second-round pick, I think, and was really starting to develop into a big-time player in Tampa Bay. And then he just got hit with a host of injuries, and really derailed his career. Went to the Saints for one season. Then the Eagles signed him in 2023, and everybody's like, all right, Justin Evans, he was a good player, rolled the dice. And all of a sudden, at the end of training camp, he's taking first-team reps. For people that don't remember, 2023, early in the season. He's the starting safety. Justin Evans.
Right.
Played
played
4 games, I think, and then was shut down for the season. Hasn't played again. When guys miss significant time with injury, odds are it's not going to be great. Not always, but the odds are against you. So my number one concern with this signing is the health. And then number 2 would be the fit. And then, but I don't mind it at all from the standpoint of competition. You don't just want to hand it to Will Shipley.
Right.
But I would say, and I haven't heard this anybody from the Eagles, I would say, and this is about every young player that we talked about yesterday, whether it's a backup like Tanner McKee or Jeremiah Trotter, or guys projected to have bigger roles like Moro Jomo, Jalix Hunt, perhaps Sidney Brown, Kaylee Ringo, those guys. They want them all to win this competition that they're all going to face. Every single one of them.
Right.
That's the hope. Now, again, as Tyler Steen proved last year, they wanted him to win that job. He didn't, and they went in a different direction. So if Will Shipley doesn't earn it, it's not going to be Will Shipley. But Will Shipley's still the default setting. I firmly believe that.
Yeah. On March 13th, you think he's running back too still, Will Shipley?
I think they want him to be running back too.
Okay, yeah.
They're not playing the game. I think they want him. They wanted Tyler Steen this time last year to be the right guard after the draft, and they didn't get a right guard. They wanted him to be the right guard.
Yeah, I like what you said there too about the young players getting some competition. And, you always want the young guys to win, but part of me thinks some of the moves that they make, John, are to get the most out of those young players. Will Shipley could be sitting on a couch, and last night he reads they signed AJ Dillon, and all of a sudden the guy's in the gym for a late night workout, and he's up at 5:30 a.m. grinding to get ready for the season. I'm not saying that's exactly what he's doing. I'm just saying there is a thought process behind competition brings out the best in people, and they're probably trying to do that with their young guys. So good stuff there, Johnny Mac. John, I will have you comment, though. Just give some clarity on, it doesn't sound like you love this deal, which is fine, but it's not an overly risky deal. It's a very
no risk at all.
Yeah, so I'm not overly concerned if it doesn't work out.
No.
But.
And that's how everybody takes it. If you don't say this is a home run, I heard of this name. Oh, it's great, it's great, it's great. Again, if you listen to what I said, there's plenty good. I'd like this player. I mentioned this player for the Eagles long before any of you.
Yeah, 3 years ago, Johnny Mac was saying him.
Yeah. Right now, because of the injury, because of the bid, I don't necessarily get it. But again, I said from the standpoint as a backup, and they might even go that way. They might be, he's the third running back, and then if Saquon can't play, he becomes the first running back. And Will stays as the second running back for the entire time. They might go about it that way. We went through this with Rashad Penny a couple years ago. And fans kept asking, when is Rashad Penny going to get a chance? When is Rashad Penny going to get a chance? My answer was, probably never. Same thing with Devin White last year. Don't get just sucked in by the big name aspect of it.
Good stuff there. Yeah, we had one. My guy in the chat, Dirty Air, was bringing up. He called him AJ Penny. Hopefully, we don't have that. We'll see what ends up happening with that. Johnny Mac, let's move into some talk about two guys. I think are really everybody wants to see, is waiting to see what happens on these two players, and that would be Mekhi Becton and Dallas Goedert. We'll start with Mekhi Becton, who's still a free agent. Right now, he made it to the period, and Eagles didn't get the deal done before that. I thought they were going to lose him once he got to the open market, but you're moving into day 4 of the week now of the tampering period's obviously passed. The new league year is here, but still no deal for Mekhi Becton, John.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of talked about Mekhi from the start. He was the most difficult to project because there's some other issues with the contract that could affect the contract. And I think everybody said, well, he's just going to get a big deal.
Right.
People are concerned about his knee. It might be a degenerative condition. So there's medical issues. Then you have the position change. Is he a tackle? Is he a guard? He wants to play guard because he had such success here. And then there's the Jeff Stoutland aspect of it, whereas, they saw him in New York. It wasn't that great. They saw him with Stoutland. It was great for the most part. He's not bringing Stoutland with him. So, teams are concerned with that. One of the big reasons the Eagles have some optimism with Kenyon Green is who were his offensive line coaches,
Right.
let's see if he can do something with Jeff Stoutland. So the longer it goes, I would say the better chance the Eagles have. But if he gets 2 years, and I still think he might get 2 years, I think he's gone. So a lot depends. And from the player perspective, sometimes it's not bad to wait, because now that the first wave is over, you can look around the league and say, all right, who needs a guard? And you can pick and choose from that standpoint. So sometimes it's good for a player. And this is where you get the bargains in free agency. And I think he's, unfortunately for him, from a financial standpoint, he's now in the bargain bin probably. I can't imagine he's going to get a massive deal, but I can still imagine him getting a 2-year deal. And if that happens, you've seen the Eagles. They're being very disciplined in this maintenance offseason. I still would lean towards him not returning at this point. But the longer it goes, the better it is for the Eagles.
We'll see what ends up happening with Mekhi Becton. John, would you feel okay if they went with Tyler Steen, or if they didn't sign back Mekhi Becton and they went into the season with that as the plan? Is that a good plan in your opinion? Or I think they would get worse, but I mean, it doesn't mean it's a bad plan.
Well, yeah, it doesn't. I mean, are they better with Moro Jomo? Are they better with Jalix Hunt than Josh Sweat? On the surface, of course not.
Got to get better somewhere, though. No, I guess not.
Well, I think people forget, like, there is improvement. There is, growth. There is, players get better. And, if guys click who have higher upsides, you might end up being better when it looks like in March 13th, you look like you got worse. And you might, by the second half of next season, you might be better because guys grow and develop. And that's part of it. So I think, people say Tyler Steen, or because he's played a little bit. Well, that's what Tyler Steen is. Well, that's what they said about Mekhi Becton last year, coming off the Jets. That's what Mekhi Becton is. And all of a sudden he turns it on under a different change of scenery, different offensive line coach, and becomes a helpful player, to say the least. Nothing stands still in this league when it comes to players, good and bad.
Right.
Good players aren't good for the rest of their lives. And young players, developing players are not necessarily stuck at a certain level because fans believe they're stuck at a certain level because they played for 6 games or 8 games. Nolan Smith being the best example of that last year. Brandon Graham, long term. Everybody was trying to run that guy out of town. He's still here because he developed and he got better and better and better and better. And now he's an Eagles Hall of Famer. And nobody's played more games for the Philadelphia Eagles. Amazing career.
We haven't had any update on Brandon Graham. And free agencies here is, I would assume he's going to retire, especially after what Derek Gunn put out that he tore his triceps again in the Super Bowl. But any word on Brandon Graham, John?
No, but I would not. He's going to retire.
Yeah, I just don't know why he hasn't said it at this point. He's got to be thinking.
He's going to get the treatment, the Fletcher Cox, the Jason Kelsey treatment, and they're going to bring in his family, his friends, and there's some logistics involved in that. There's some travel.
Right. They're too busy right now to set all that up.
I do not expect Brandon Graham back. I think he wants to play because he just loves it. But, the Eagles have made it clear they're in a youth movement. I think it's pretty clear. Now, I never want to say 100% because they go through the draft and they don't get what they want, and they can't get an edge rusher on the free agent market that they're comfortable with. You never say never in this league, but pretty comfortable. I mean, boy, that's a hell of a way to go out if you're Brandon Graham.
It really is. I hope I think he will get a good a goodbye thing this offseason. At some point, we'll monitor that situation for all you guys. Johnny Mac, let's get into Dallas Goedert. We're going to talk about the cap and what the Eagles are doing right now and why their approach is this later on in the show today. We'll take some super chats as well. We got an opened up show today, so anybody who wants to talk to Johnny Mac or ask some questions about the offseason, about free agency, about the cap, about salary, whatever it is, we'll take your super chats as well. Johnny Mac, Dallas Goedert, we're all kind of waiting. Is he going to get extended? Is he going to get released? Is he going to get traded? What is going on with Dallas Goedert? Where are you on the Goedert talk? Do you think he'll be back? Do you have any intel you can give us? Where are we with Dallas Goedert on March 13th?
Same intel I gave you yesterday, the day before. If you're asking me in a 50-50 world, I'm leaning towards him leaving more than not, but there's some complications to that. One, he's him and his agent are looking around trying to see what kind of deal they can get. And the Eagles have done this strategy in the past. If players think they can get more elsewhere, sometimes it's, all right, you go do the negotiation. Come back and tell us what you can get. From the Eagles standpoint, obviously what they're trying to do is do a short term. So, guarantee his money 2025, a little bit of money in 2026, bring it back that way, maybe draft a tight end. You got a heir apparent plan in place. The problem is they use their 2 post-1 designations up on Darius Slay and James Bradbury. So they can't trade him with a post-June 1st designation. And that means $9.582 million cap hits. If they were to trade him, that's pretty significant. Post-June 1st, it's easy to do, but by that point, teams have made plans,
right?
And the draft is gone. So you're talking about future draft picks, which the Eagles don't have a problem with.
What's the value on Goedert? A 5th rounder?
Well, the Eagles want a 4th. Maybe they get a conditional 5th that becomes a 4th. It's easier to get a 4th in the future. That's why you might see 2027 4th round pick.
Like the trade comes down after June 1 and it's a later draft. It's a later draft. Yeah.
So Howie might do it that way. I would like to work something out short term with Dallas. But this is at his age. He and his agent know this is probably the last chance for him to get multiple years with significant guaranteed money. So that's their thought process. And the Eagles want to keep it short term. So that's their thought process. But what's not going to happen, he's not going to come back and play out a contract with no guaranteed money. That's just not how the NFL works.
Right. No, he's not going to do that. So we'll see what ends up happening with Goedert. At some point this offseason, there will be news, whether it's a restructure, an extension, whatever it might be. There will be something for Dallas Goedert. So we'll talk about that as soon as it happens. Johnny Mac, there's no really contingency in the building right now. Like all the guys that have left so far, you might not feel great about them all, but at least there's a guy in the room. With Dallas Goedert, there isn't one. I know you got Calcaterra, but I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm too soon on Calcaterra, but he's a perennial tight end 2, in my opinion. I don't think you can elevate him to tight end 1. So I don't know if there's a trade target out there, or if somebody's on the market, or if a guy has a contract coming up, maybe they would try and get younger. And I know Michael Mayer has been a topic of conversation here, but I don't see the contingency on Goedert. So I'm in the boat of bring him back, but I don't know, with the way we talked about the cap yesterday and the cash and all those things, I'm wondering if they're just going to cut bait and move on from Dallas Goedert.
Well, that's the third option. That's possibility. Certainly, if you acquire somebody like Michael Mayer, maybe you have to go that route. You've gotten younger. You've gotten your tight end. It's a projection, but, really good college prospect. Raiders being the Raiders, they draft Brock Bowers, and evidently they don't have a need for 2 tight ends. So even though everybody has a need for 2 tight ends, and he's still on his rookie deal. So I mean, if he's available, I'm sure the Eagles are exploring it. And that would be an instant fit because that guy's a big time prospect and he's still young and he hasn't played a ton of football. And there was he ended up being a second round pick, but he was in serious consideration to be a potential first round pick. So he's a really good player. And that would and that'd be a nice way to solve the issue. And we'll see if the Eagles can pull something off like that. But clearly they're in the youth movement. Clearly they've set that demarcation line between the guys they're going to pay and extend and pay big money. And Dallas is on the wrong side of it, just like CJ.
Right.
So
I think the tight ends in the draft are a little gassed up too right now. I know it's a good tight end draft, but I think people have this idea, as long as you take a tight end in the first 4 rounds, you're going to have a good player. I'm like, it doesn't really work like that. Let's see what these guys do. But outside of Warren, I'm not that sold on them. I mean, they're good prospects, but we'll see what they end up doing in the league. So it's going to be interesting to see what the Eagles do. Let me go to this super chat because it's on Goedert. Sasha, thank you, brother. Appreciate your super chat. He says, I know we don't do franchise tags, but in Goddard's case, would it make sense to tag him if the team's going for another run and maybe trade him mid-season if they need to? Don't think you can tag anymore, Sasha, but Johnny Mac, I'll let you respond to that one.
No, you can't tag anymore. A, the Eagles don't use it. B, you can't tag anymore. That is long gone. C, he's under contract. You don't have to tag him. He's your property. So, yeah, a tag is not – the Eagles, by organizational philosophy, don't use it because you never want to hold players hostage. But again, it's not even relevant here. The guy's under contract. He's just on the final year of his contract. He's a lame duck if the guaranteed money is up. And that's why something needs to be done. But yeah, not relevant in Dallas's case.
Sasha, appreciate the super chat, brother. Thank you, man. Appreciate your support. One of our great viewers here. Another chat here came from Dank Bird Gang. What's up, Dank Bird Gang? Hope you're doing well, man. By the way, for all of our members, I see 2 chats that came in from members. Fanatics put all the Super Bowl merch on sale yesterday. So I went on and bought a bunch of stuff to give away to all the people. So I'll be doing some giveaways in the off-season. Some off-season giveaways. So for the members who dropped off, you opportunistic guys, come on back. Come on back. We got more giveaways coming on JAKIB Sports. Dank Bird Gang says, post June 1st is interesting. From what I understand, it's about dead money and spreading out the dead cap over 2 years. Yes, you can spread it out. Johnny Mac, your response to Dank Bird Gang.
Yeah, June 1st is about spreading cap space over 2 years instead of having everything on 1 year. So the indication, but dead money is not the same as cap space. Dead money is dead money. So, sometimes the Eagles get caught paying excessive dead money. That's money already spent. Essentially, that's cash over cap that we talk about. It's what Jeffrey Lurie's been doing for a decade, been doing it too much, and it's coming home to roost with Jalen Carter coming up and Cam Jurgens coming up and Quinyon Mitchell coming up and Cooper DeJean. So, yes, it's about spreading the cap hit over 2 seasons, but dead money is something entirely different. You're muted, I believe, Sam.
Yep, I got it. My bad. Yeah, the Eagles manipulate that like crazy, so we'll see what they end up doing with all that. Vulnerable Vitality checks in. Appreciate you, Vulnerable. We got plenty of great topics here coming up in hour number 2. Assessing where this team is after some fallout, some losses on this roster. Vulnerable Vitality says, hey, J-Mac, do you foresee the Birds going into the season with more cap space than years past? In doing so, does that translate simply to planning for the young guys deals and filling in the roster holes through the season? Love y'all.
No, it's cash. Cash and cap are different. The cap is not the issue. The cash is the issue.
Can you explain what that means though? Like, in my estimation, it's a pile of cash. And when you guarantee money to someone, when you pay Jalen Hurts and you pay AJ Brown, when you pay these guys, one of the reasons that they can work such team-friendly deals is because they give a lot of cash up front and they guarantee money, which I believe has to go in escrow. So if that cash pile depletes too much. You can't work the deals as good, and you got big deals coming up.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
don't know.
well, yeah, cash is, you do need the money. Like, you can't just say I'm paying so and so 70 million guaranteed, even if it all doesn't come in an immediate signing bonus. And um, but it's fully guaranteed. You have to have the rest of it. It could be levers, could be roster bonus, could be pushing it down the road a little bit from a standpoint of handing out the actual check, but you have to have the actual money in escrow if you agree to pay it. So that's number one. But that's not the issue, that they don't have the money. That the realistic aspect of it is you can't pay everybody. They're not crying cash poor. They just spent too much. They have too many good players.
Yeah, right.
And they spent too much over the past really 3-4 years. But they've been doing this for a decade. The cap is bookkeeping, is my best explanation.
Yeah, I know.
So, when you sign somebody like Jalen Hurts and you hear the deal and he's the highest paid quarterback of all time for 3 weeks, and and then you see the cap hit is nothing. That's because they have it spread out over multiple years plus voidable years on the back end, which the Eagles have become famous for, and now everybody copies. So you spread out the cap over on those 5 years, 6 years, even longer deals, which are few and far between now. But you might have 9 years on paper to make the cap number go down. So the cap is about bookkeeping, and I know fans get confused because that's all people talk about. But the reason, and this comes directly from Jake Rosenberg, who used to be, Howie's right-hand man for many years, and people watch this show have heard that name a lot. The secret is cash over cap. If you're not willing to pay that cash up front, and spread out those years, it's going to be very difficult to compete at the highest level.
And John has said it. Lurie has spent more cash than any other owner in the NFL in the last decade, right?
Yep.
And that's why we
Number
say
one.
thank you, Jeffrey Lurie, right? Because the reason the deals are so team friendly a lot of the times is because he's willing to shell out that much cash on deals. So he's got to recoup a little bit of that because he knows he's got Jalen Carter coming up and all these guys coming up on the defensive side of the ball. So we'll see about that. John Curtis brings up a good thing here. He wants to, can you explain void year? I do think this is like the thing that we talk about, but people don't know what the hell it means. Like, I know you put void years on a deal, but what's the downside to it? Is there any downside to it? Does it only work if your player pans out and you can create a new deal in the future to kick it back down the road? Like, the Eagles use these so much. It seems like it's simple to use. I don't know why more teams don't do it, but
they do. Now most teams do it. So most teams are catching on. But I got Dallas up because I was looking at Dallas because you asked me about Dallas. Like, Dallas is from a football standpoint, from a fan standpoint, this is the last year on the deal, 2025. But he's got 4 void years on top of it. So from the Eagles' perspective in the bookkeeping, he's on the books until 2029 with a bunch of void years. And that's to lower the cap number. So, Dallas signed, I don't know, he signed his extension in 2021. Advertised as a $57 million extension. Well, to give you an example, his cap number 2021 was $3.7 million. His cap number 2022 was $3.7 million, a little bit over. 2023, it spiked to 6.2. 2024, 9.1. 2025, 11.8. 2026, when the void years kick in, 23.8. They're kicking the can down the road. It's like paying with a credit card.
right.
So, yes, eventually you have to pay. Unless, the player hits and you keep extending like the Eagles have done with Lane Johnson. And then you say, all right, we're going to rework it and kick the void years down a couple more years. It's always about building the best team immediately and then dealing with the ramifications down the road. but the ramifications do exist. And for instance, with Dallas, that accelerates. So from a salary cap standpoint, from 2026 to 2029, which are his void years, there is 22 million or so of dead money. That's money that's already been paid. That's money that's already out the door. But eventually it's going to hit your cap.
I don't get how it doesn't eventually add up and just screw them. People in the end, remember Jerry Jones had that quote this summer. Oh, they have a big bill coming soon or coming due soon. Like, how do they always make it so? I mean, I've been hearing this, John, literally for 5 years that the Eagles have a bill coming due. and every year we get here and I'm like, okay, we're all good. So I don't really understand that part.
Well, here's the thing. It's like the U.S. Think about it this way: the government with their debt. Everybody, the debt. Look, if now, normal people, they might lose their job and they might be screwed if they have too much credit card debt. Well, the U.S. government's not too worried about that.
No, they're not.
So they can debt spend. Not that it doesn't create difficulties, but the Eagles know where the NFL is going. Just the cap keeps going up. 20 million, 20 million, 20 million, 20, the TV deals are in place. So they know the cap is going up. So when you hear people say the bill is coming due, yes, it is. But if you have, let's put it this way. If you have a credit card bill of $100 and you're making $100,000, and then your credit card bill is $150 and you're making $200,000, you're not going to be too concerned with it. That's sort of the Eagles' philosophy.
Yeah. It's interesting how they manipulate it. How much does the willingness of the owner to shell out the cash help? Because like I would ask, why don't every team do it? But maybe it's because the owners aren't
huge.
Yeah.
Well, they've made 3 Super Bowls in 8 years. They've won 2. Coincidentally, over that 8-year period, they've spent more cash than anybody else. Is it a coincidence? I don't think so. Nobody has more superstar players, and you got to pay them. That's what this is about. Right. This is not about one moment. And that's what I tried to explain to everybody. And I know it's difficult because you'll go on. And I got my email every day. I get some company sent me their grades for each move. I don't give a shit about your grades for each move because each move is not one singular thing for an NFL team. CJ Gardner-Johnson being traded has more to do with paying Jalen Carter down the line and Quinyon Mitchell even and Cooper DeJean even than trading CJ Gardner-Johnson in the moments. It has more to do with that than it is about just trying to get a guy with a big personality out of the locker room. Although that's part of it.
That's part of it. But like we mentioned that they saved $8.5 million in cash on that deal. Yeah. That's basically Lurie and Howie saying, keep that cash in the till. And we're going to use that on the bonus or the sign or when we sign Carter, and that goes to the $100 million we're going to have to give him to get his contract done. That's essentially what's happening there, right? They're just keeping cash in the chamber, basically.
Exactly.
On these deals.
And they're going to create more, and even cash that doesn't exist, but cash that would have existed, like if they extended Milton Williams,
right,
or they extended Josh Sweat, all that goes into those guys.
How much does the Eagles profit in a year? Do you know? Is it 300 million, 200 million, 100 million? Especially on a year like
this. Not nearly as much as people think. Owners make their money on paper.
Yeah.
And if they flip the team, then they make a boatload if they sell. As you saw, Jeffrey sold 10% because now they're allowed to sell minority investments. He made his entire original investment back times, I don't know, 4 or 5 on 110%. So he made a boatload on that. That's where you make your money. And now that's the reason the NFL changed the rule, because all the owners are like, man, we got to cash in on this valuation, because valuation is just that. So when you say, when Forbes says the Eagles are worth however many billions, and I don't know where we are with how much they're worth. It's not like Jeffrey Lurie's got $6 billion in the bank. That's a valuation of an asset. And they're, because of the way the NFL is and how much money they pay to employees, yeah, the operating income is not nearly as impressive as people would think it is.
Right. It's about the value of the team going from, well, what did he buy it for? 180 million, and now it's worth probably close to $10 billion. I think that's where the wealth is made, everybody. But anyway, good stuff there. John, let's get to a couple more chats that we got from the people. Ross and Found says we have a 25-year run of using internal talent at tight end. 25 years, that seems long.
I haven't been around for 25, so I'll take your word for it. But I don't know what that means. But yeah. I mean, they drafted well with Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert, just from when I've been here. So those are both second-round picks that have been really, really high-level tight ends for a long period of time. If you miss, maybe you got to go outside the organization. But they haven't missed recently.
We'll see what they end up doing, Ross and Found. Ross, I appreciate your point, but are you telling me that Grant Calcaterra is your replacement for Dallas Goedert? I don't like that one, Ross. Abe checks in. What's up, Abe? Aside from the fact Zander looking like he came out of a NASCAR event with that jacket, Abe, you always got to take a shot, don't you, Abe? Who do y'all, J-Mac and Zander, think will have a better improvement next season, Nolan or Hunt? Love you guys. Keep it going. I'm going to say Nolan, because you can have a.
Yeah, I mean, Nolan's got a chance to be special as a pass rusher. Alex has got high ceiling, but more of a, developmental aspect of it too. Then I would say Nolan is farther along. And I think, a little bit of issues with the size, but he's incredibly physical despite his lack of size. One of the things they've said when he came out of Georgia, better run defender than he was a pass rusher, because he needed to work on some technique and counter moves and things like that. But he's just really physical. Alex is more of a project, as he was described. Impressed, flashed, but I don't think the Eagles want to go into the season counting on Alex Hunt to be one of their two main pass rushers.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Do you think Joe Whip says Hunt's a beast, higher ceiling than Nolan? Agree or disagree?
Disagree.
I disagree as well. I think Nolan's ceiling is really high.
I think Alex is, and he's still growing into his body. I mean, he was a safety at Cornell in the Ivy League. He's still growing into his body. He's got the frame to be bigger. As he gets further into an NFL strength program, he'll continue to fill out. And I think from a physical standpoint, he's got a chance to be a more typical edge rusher than Nolan, who just doesn't have the frame to get like Josh Sweat. That is if you create an NFL edge rusher in a lab, he looks like Josh Sweat. Big length, size. Just, if you're doing a Hollywood movie, that's the guy you're going to cast. All right, this guy's an edge rusher. He looks like an edge rusher. Alex is closer to that. So I think that, people would look at that and say, all right, this guy's an edge rusher. Nolan's 6'2", small, 237 pounds. But, that's what people said about Micah Parsons. Well, his arms are too short.
Yeah.
Well, nobody can block him. Now, I'm not comparing Nolan but Nolan's got some of that, as you saw.
Yeah, the archetype, whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think Nolan's got a chance to be a really, really good player.
I don't disagree with Joe in that. I think Alex has a big upside. I mean, one of the things I love watching when rookies come into the league is how they grow into their pro body. You know, like a lot of times you look at rookie photos, you're like, oh my God, they look like completely different. You know, you remember TJ Edwards, guy completely rebuilt his body. I think it's happened in Kobe Dean. I think it's even happened a little bit with Nolan Smith here in the last year. He looks like he's grown into his professional, you know, his body. And I think Jalen Hunt is going to have that type of development too. And I do like, John, that background of the safety, because I think it just gives him a advantage athletically, you know, on the line. He's super fast, explosive, and I think that could be a big trait for him moving forward.
Well, I'm with you. I say that all the time about TJ. The metamorphosis was amazing because I was there day one.
That's where I got that from. I remember you talking about it. Yeah. All on Jacob.
The day he left the building. Nakobe as well, after he hurt his foot, I think, you know, the silver lining to that Lisfranc injury was couldn't work out his lower body. So he just spent all his time working out his upper body, and he just became a monster in one off season. That was the silver lining to that. Nolan looks like the same guy, man. He came in like a rock. He's a rock now, but he's small for his position. Right. Just there's nothing. The frame is not capable of getting to the point to be Josh Sweat.
Right.
Not capable.
Different build. Build.
Alex has that frame, and if he continues to build into it, but, you know, Nolan's got a chance to be better than Josh Sweat because he's unique. And that's why I make the comparison to Micah Parsons. Micah Parsons does not look like an edge rusher. That's why when he came out, everyone said, well, he's got to be an all-ball linebacker. He can't be an edge rusher. That's why the majority of teams scouted him as an all-ball linebacker because of the size deficiencies, the length deficiencies. And then he showed up, and nobody could block him. Aaron Donald. Now, Aaron was the 13th pick in the draft, but he was so good, and I got the receipts on this. I'm proud of this one. I called Aaron Donald the best player in that draft. Now, but he weighed 280 pounds. And in the modern NFL, you can't play defensive tackle at 280 pounds until you can, because nobody could block the guy. I don't want to put Nolan in that category because those guys are Hall of Fame players. And in the case of Aaron, obviously, Mike is on that trajectory, but there are exceptions to the rule. And too many times, you know, we talk about the combine, the underwear Olympics, you hear about it. Well, you got to have 34-inch arms to play tackle in the NFL. Well, yeah, until you don't.
True.
Yeah. So
it's a baseline. It doesn't mean you can't go outside of it. Yeah. I'm looking at that giraffe now, John. Jadeveon Clowney was the first overall pick. Blake Bortles went in the top 3, went 3rd overall. Khalil Mack, that was a good pick, number 5 for the Raiders. Mike Evans, great pick by the Buccaneers there. Taylor Lewan, Odell Beckham to the Giants, the pick before, and then Aaron Donald at 13 to the Rams. It's a good draft. Not a bad draft there. Not great.
Well, there's always a great draft, but he's the best.
You know, by far. It's not even close. I mean, Khalil Mack.
There's always great players. Khalil Mack is a phenomenal player.
Yeah.
Jake Matthews is a phenomenal player, still going. Anthony Barr was a
Khalil Mack too. Khalil just got $18 million fully guaranteed.
Yeah, he's defensive player of the year. Anthony Barr was an all-pro linebacker. Eric Ebron's still going.
Johnny Manziel was in that draft. He's not going anymore.
No. Odell, I remember Chip said he was the best player in that draft afterwards. Yeah, and he was for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Well, splashy. Yeah. A lot of good players. Zach Martin, first ballot Hall of Famer. Phenomenal. But Aaron's the best. Aaron's one of the greatest defensive players who ever lived.
Good stuff there, Johnny Mac. John, we'll get to I'll finish out this super chat here. And Juan, what's up, brother? Then we'll get to our commercial break. Hour number 2, everybody. Secondary talk. Darius Slay, gone. CJ Gardner-Johnson, gone. Who we filling in? Who's coming in? What are we doing in the secondary? How will Vic recreate the number 1 overall defense in the NFL? We'll kick it around in hour number 2. Anwan Atkins checks in. What's up, Anwan? Morning, both y'all. John, when All right, this is going to be a little tough to read, M1. I'm not sure if you had typos or what went on here. John, when come cash is like baseball, like, do Jeffrey tell Howie how much bankroll he's got to spend as far as cash, not cap?
Yeah, I mean, the Eagles are set up years in advance.
Yeah.
Years in advance. I mean, the Eagles have been at the forefront to this. That's why I mentioned Jake's name for so many years, because Jake is really, for all of the talk about how he does this with how he does that, Jake was in charge of the cap. Not that Howie's not well versed in it, but Howie's got a much more bigger, more encompassing job that involves, not only the cap, but it involves scouting personnel. Howie's got a huge job coaching. He's got to find candidates for Nick Sirianni there. He's got a massive job. He's got a bunch of issues. So the guy who's doing the contracts for all those years was Jake, and now it's Bryce Johnson. So everybody's got a cap guy. Every team. Most people say it's the general. It's not. Everybody's got a cap guy. I read Rob Brzezinski because I know him is Minnesota because I was out there. He's Minnesota's cap guy. He's also where he signed $88 million of cap of players on paper and gave up $23 million of cap space. Everybody's got a cap guy. Nobody knows Rob's name because he's not the GM. The GM is Kwesi. Everybody knows the GM. Everybody's got a cap guy. For years, it was Jake.
I still don't get why Jake left. Like, I get it. He wanted to get out from under the wings of Howie. But what is Jake doing? I know does he have his own business or something? But I know he's not like with the organization.
He's got he's been at the forefront of college teams and them hiring. You'll see every once in a while, you see a college team hire a GM now.
Yeah.
College teams have. Jake did that. Started it with Oklahoma.
Okay.
And they just brought Jim Nagy over, who ran the Senior Bowl. Yeah, Jake's so he's been heavily involved in that. He thought he got, and he did, but he's not the only one. I don't know how he wants to be a GM, and he felt he had to leave to become a GM because people don't take the money guys seriously. To be GMs. And he felt he had to leave to increase that possibility down the road. But, like Rob, I use Rob as an example. He's not going to be a GM. I mean, people don't hire money guys to be GMs, although some people think Howie's a money guy.
Well, his background was in money first, wasn't it? Wasn't in personnel.
Well, his background was always well-versed. I shouldn't say, again, when I'm talking about money guy, I'm not talking how, a lot of people will say Joe Banner was a money guy. He was the team president. That was part of his job. But again, Howie's job has always been much bigger than that. I'm talking about the guys that just do the contracts, like Jake and Rob. And guys like that, most of them, you don't even know their names. And I only know their names because, I knew them personally.
Yeah, you're entrenched. Would Jake come on the show? I wonder if Jake would be a great interview on the show.
He hasn't done any. I can ask him, but to my knowledge, he hasn't done any interviews. I think he'd be very cautious anyway because he wants to be a GM. But yeah, so I mean, most of those guys, you're never even going to know their names. I can't even tell you their names. Like, who's Jacksonville's contract guy? I don't know. Who's Tennessee's? I don't know. I can look it up.
That youngster, though, that youngster GM down in Jacksonville, he got down there and he blew that thing up. I don't blame him, though.
But I think most people think GMs are sitting there doing contracts. They're not.
Yeah,
they're not.
Unless you're like Jerry Jones and you just don't know what you're doing.
Well, I don't know what goes on in Dallas, but he's not.
We talked about it a little bit ago. He doesn't give a shit about the work. Jerry Jones doesn't care about football. Nobody can convince me otherwise.
But
Jerry Jones is making money on the valuation of the Cowboys. That is it. He's a businessman. He doesn't care about football. I'm fully convinced of that.
But even Jerry sets the tone and, obviously is the boss, but he's not doing contracts. I'm talking about the people that put together legal documents that, no GM in the NFL is doing contracts, doing the actual legwork of the actual,
making it. Yes.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Good stuff, Amon. Appreciate your super chat, brother. Thanks, everybody, for being here this morning. Don't forget to hit that like button. All right, we appreciate all you guys. Got a big crowd in here. A lot of changes to this Eagles team so far. A lot going out, not a lot coming in yet. So we'll see when, the talent acquisition season officially kicks off. It's kicked off for the whole NFL, but the Eagles haven't added much outside of AJ Dillon, the running back from Green Bay, who is now a Philadelphia Eagle. We talked about him in the opening segment for those who missed it, and if you want to go and check that out. Appreciate all you guys being here. Let's get to our commercial break. In hour number 2, we're going to talk about the secondary, replacing Slay, replacing CJ Gardner-Johnson. What's it look like? Options in the draft, some of those things, any free agents, trades, we'll talk about it all. So that's coming up next here on Birds 365. Before we get to the break, I want to tell you guys about the great people at BetUS. Go to betus.com.pa. That's betus.com.pa. Use the promo code YouTube150. Gives you a 150% sign-up bonus on your very first deposit. You get 125% on your second and third deposit, all up to $2,000. So deposit less and bet with more at BetUS. Go to betus.com.pa. That's betus.com.pa. They have the fastest pads in the industry, 24/7 customer support, and they'll even give you your own custom account manager. So go check them out today. We appreciate them for sponsoring the show. We'll be right back in 3 minutes on Birds 365.
The following is a real testimonial from the father of a young injured victim.
I didn't think she was going to make it.
Major Perry's daughter was the victim of a horrific accident caused by someone else's negligence.
If you don't find the right counselor, law firm that you're looking for, you will get lost in the wilderness.
Badly injured? Call the Fritz and Bianculli Law Firm at 215-458-2222 and find out why they say, "We got this."
Ignite your nights with free live entertainment daily, only at Live Casino and Hotel Philadelphia's Center Bar. 7 days a week, enjoy some of the region's top party bands, performers, and DJs as they take the stage in the heart of the casino action. Great cocktails, live music, and lively moments. It's all happening at Center Bar at Live Casino and Hotel Philadelphia. Visit livecasinophilly.com for more details and the complete list of upcoming events. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Your financial future is on the line. Are you ready for what's next? At Leone & Company Wealth Management, we help young professionals, business owners, and pre-retirees navigate the complexities of building and protecting wealth. For young professionals, we'll help you grow your wealth, plan for your future, and make the most of your hard-earned dollars. For business owners, we provide strategies to protect your company, manage risks, and create a lasting legacy for both your business and personal wealth. For pre-retirees, we'll design a plan to secure your retirement, ensuring you can live comfortably and confidently in your next chapter. Whether you're just starting out, managing a thriving business, or preparing for retirement, we're here to help you take control of your financial future. The first consultation is on us. Get the advice you need without the cost. Let's make your financial vision a reality. Take the next step. Scan the QR code to schedule your free consultation today. And of course, go Birds.
In our hometown, we all look out for each other. We step up to keep our communities going strong. And at Independence Blue Cross, we're here to keep you going strong as the #1 health insurer in the region. No IBX is always looking out for you.
EAGLES. Eagles.
Welcome back in, everybody, to a Thursday edition of Birds 365 here on JAKIB Sports. I'm your host, Zander Krause. Give me a follow on X at Real Zander. That's my co-host, John McMullen, the #1 Eagles beat reporter in town. Give him a follow at JF McMullen on X. We appreciate you guys. And for anybody on Instagram, go check me out at Zander Krause Show. John, I don't think you're active on Instagram, are you?
I do not. I have an Instagram account, but I can't even tell you the last time.
There's so many, John. It's a full-time job. Just keep it
I
up.
know. I don't have time.
I mean,
Facebook too. I mean,
I know.
I still have a Facebook account because one of my old jobs made me get, and I'm like, I haven't been on it in probably 2 years. Who has time for this?
Well, I make time because it's obviously how we generate money here on JAKIB. But boy, it's a lot. And there's
well,
no doubt
I
about it.
mean, you and I have different roles.
Yeah, we different jobs.
Like
for you, I don't know how you would have time.
Yeah, I'm on the phone with freaking people and texting people for 4. Like last night, I'm like, oh crap, I got to get somebody for the show. It's 10:30 at night because it's NFL new league year, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm not texting anybody at 10:30 at night, but yeah, anyway, yeah, but I digress. Yeah, I don't know how people do it, but yeah, people have to do it. Like you have to do it so it's encompassed. It's like what I'm talking about with Bryce Johnston. He's doing the contracts. How he's not sitting in there drawing up legal documents. That's he's got other avenues.
$10 billion Eagles have other people do. Other people focused on that. Maybe one day we'll get there with JAKIB, and I'll be able to do less social media work because all I do is fucking sit on social medias all day, trying to get as much post up as I can and create as much content as we can. Appreciate everybody checking in today, though, here on Birds 365. Don't forget to hit that like button if you're new to the channel. Subscribe. We're live 6+ hours a day on the channel. We'll be live all through the offseason, covering the Philadelphia Eagles. Breaking news reports, everything, you name it. We got you covered here on JAKIB Sports. So make sure you follow, subscribe, hit the like, drop your comments, do whatever you can to engage with us. And I will get back to you guys in the comments sections as well. So appreciate all you guys checking in. John, a lot of changes. All right. We had the #1 defense in the NFL last year, John. A defense that locked down Mahomes and Reed in a Super Bowl. A team that dominated their way all the way from start to finish. Really from the bye week on, we can say, but a dominant defense in Philly last year. And I'm not going to go Silio and say he took a blowtorch to it, but pretty close. I mean, pretty close. You lost a lot of guys. How you feeling about that #1 defense before we dive into the secondary?
Well, I think on March 13th, it's fair to say they're not as good, but I don't know how many times how we said it, hey, be patient. I think we're at that stage where there's a lot of big names out there that will make people excited if the Eagles get them on 1-year deals, whether it's offense, defense, anywhere. There's other avenues. You can see the Eagles have been out. You can see some of the narratives over the past day. Oh, we got 20 draft picks, if you haven't noticed, over the past 2 years. Well, that's a lot of draft capital to potentially trade for somebody. And as we have seen over the years, you've already seen it this year, how we will trade. There are other ways to get things done. And I guarantee you, there will be people added to this defense before the Eagles hit the field for training camp, and maybe even before they hit the field for week 1. If you think about when they traded for CJ Gardner-Johnson the first time, they brought him in. So, yeah, it's like no one ever learns, and I get it. The immediacy. You bring up, that's Dan Sting, man. Hey, let's make some wild comment in the moment because you're looking at things in the moment.
Well, look, people can somebody's got to be macro, somebody's going to be micro. That's how it's going to be. I mean, you're doing a talk show.
People can do whatever they want. I'm not saying they can do whatever they want, but and this is every NFL team, not just the Eagles. The Eagles just have probably earned more or at least should have earned at least a little bit more patience from people. But that's just not the way it is. They know it. It's just not the way it is. People are going to react in the moment. Oh, CJ Gardner-Johnson's traded. I like CJ Gardner-Johnson. I'm angry. You know, a lot of fans felt that way. I get it. It's not just about the moment. It's about an overall encompassing plan. And as this team has earned over the past 8 years, doesn't mean they get everything right. They get a lot of shit wrong. I bring it up all the time. Nobody gets everything right. But over the past 8 years, they've made 3 Super Bowls and won 2 of them. You know, I would trust them if I were a fan.
Yeah.
And I'll also say I don't give a shit about the AJ Dillon signing. Does nothing for me from a standpoint. I don't give a shit about any sign. I don't mean it from the standpoint of, because I'm not going to, you know, it's not going to affect me if they win or lose. But from a fan standpoint, yeah, you should not be excited about that signing. That is a low bar. If it works, great. If it doesn't, you just move on, turn the page. It's not going to hurt you whatsoever. It's low risk, somewhat, I won't even say high reward, somewhat okay award, reward.
Yeah, I said that last night and then I caught myself. I'm like, I don't want to say it's high reward, but
Yeah.
John, but if we have that perspective all the time, what fun is the off season? You're just like, okay, let's see what they do.
I'm not. People say, you know, do you need to? Hey, if it's fun for you to overreact, overreact. I mean, I'm not going to tell people what to do. I'm just saying, if you want to be logical and rational about it, it's not about a moment. It's never about a moment for any team, good, bad, or indifferent. All these moves, all these things are interconnected. It's about more than one stinking year. I say it all the time. The Eagles do this in 3-year increments. And I get it. Most people don't care. Most people, they ripped apart the Super Bowl defense. They want everybody back. You want Milton Williams at $26 million a year?
No.
You want Josh Sweat at $20 million a year? So it's like you can't have it both ways. You know, the assumption is, and I got this a lot too, well, Jeffrey Lure's got so much money, he just spent the money.
Yeah, I don't view it like that. Come on.
Hey, you have a salary cap. You do have a salary cap, and you are capped out at some point, even as well as the Eagles do manipulate things. It's not baseball where you can spend unlimited money if you feel like it. You know, you'll get taxed. I think they have a tax now, but whatever, if you feel like it. It's not that way in the NFL. They've proven they can manipulate this better than anybody else. And nobody's got any patience, but that's Philadelphia. That's always, you know, I tell the Doug Peterson story all the time. I'm sitting there in a bar in Minneapolis and I said, all right, lifetime dispensation for Doug Peterson. He's out in 3 years.
Yeah, so don't just blame the city of Philadelphia. The owner's got the same mindset.
Well, and the standpoint, they won the Super Bowl, and a month later, everybody's jumping off bridge. Not everybody, but there's some people jumping off bridges because they couldn't sign Milt and Josh, which we all knew.
Well, no, those two didn't really catch many by surprise. You know, even on
no offense, but are you really that worried about losing Isaiah Rodgers and Oren Burks?
No, I think the CJ deal was the one that surprised people because, and I'm not saying he was like a top guy even on that. I mean, I think he was a good player. I don't think he was a top guy on that defense. He's not what made them number one, but I think it created like another hole that you have to address. And I know you have draft picks, but I think that's where people looked at it. And it was the first surprise move, John. So, you know, it knocked some people off and they wondered why they did it. What's the plan? What's the philosophy? How are you going to get better there? And that's all. I don't think it was an overreaction. I just think it's people, you know, are emotional and they get it. They react in the moment.
Yeah, I agree. That's what I said. I mean, but it's not, did they gut their team because they lost CJ Gardner-Johnson? That's a little. He ain't Ronnie Lott. So yeah, but from the standpoint, they have work to do on the defensive side of the ball. I've said it pretty consistently. They're not going to go into next season with Nolan Smith and Jalen Hunt as their two top edge rushers. If they do, we can come back on this show and I'll be ripping them in training camp if that's the plan. They are not going to say, all right, Sidney, it's your job. They're going to bring in competition for Sidney Brown, and it's not going to be Lewis Seen. They're going to have to add bodies at cornerback. What we haven't talked about Ben VanSumeren. They evidently moved Ben VanSumeren to fullback.
Yeah.
Now they're going to need another backup linebacker. They have to add bodies, but again, they got a bunch of draft picks. As they've been telling everybody over the past 24 hours, they got a lot to work with. There's trades. There's post-June burst cuts. There's guys on the market right now. Here's some of the guys that would excite people that are still on the market. Asante Samuel Jr. Can't tackle.
Can't tackle at all.
Can't play press coverage, but the Eagles don't play much press coverage, but they'd be excited because of the name. I don't even bring up guys like Stephon Diggs or Amari Cooper because they're receivers and the Eagles don't need receivers, but they're out there. Tevin Jenkins, offensive lineman, starter. Calais Campbell would, he's 100 years old. People would be excited by that. He's not coming in. I'm not saying the Eagles are signing these guys, but because of who he is, it would excite people.
John, the one guy that got signed yesterday, I was hoping that he came to Philly was
Draymond Jones.
Draymond Jones.
He's off the board. Azeez Ojulari is a guy. Draymond Jones is off the board. I thought, that's realistic to me. Azeez Ojulari. Becton's still out there. He would excite people coming back. Not even going to talk about the quarterbacks. Dante Fowler, former top 10 pick, is a 1-year edge rusher. That would excite people. So Darius Smith would excite people.
No, he wouldn't excite me. He wouldn't excite me at all.
Well, he would maybe not you personally, but he'd excite a lot of Eagles fans. Justin Simmons, are you kidding me? They'll hold the parade just for Justin Simmons. Bring Kaiser White back? Oh, they'd love that.
Kaiser actually might make sense if Nakobe Dean, if you don't think he's going to be healthy.
Yeah, he's going to be fine. Julian Blackman's a young safety. He's out there. A lot of guys, man. A lot of guys.
Are they going to make a signing today outside of, veteran minimum running back?
The veteran minimum something. Yeah, probably. Probably they'll get something done.
We'll see what ends up happening with that. Johnny Mac, let's talk. Well, real quick, I do want to talk to you about VanSumeren. You just brought him up. I forgot to hit it in the opening segment. I apologize for that. But he brought back, it was a what did you call it? An exclusive rights deal. So he was never really even on the
that kills me. That kills me. He was an exclusive rights free agent. So he was Eagles property. They just, if they want to tender him, which exclusive rights tenders are very cost effective. So the only issue with Ben is the injury. If it were how serious it was, but I saw him a clean out day. He seems fine. He should be ready to go. But when the Eagles announced it, they listed him at fullback. So I said to myself, well, sometimes that's just a web thing. The web people are not necessarily on the same page as the decision makers. He got a lot of pub as a fullback for that limited time he played because there were some exciting plays with Saquon and he had some big blocks. So I'm thinking maybe it's just the web people thinking, oh, Ben's playing fullback, not realizing he's also a backup linebacker. So I did contact the Eagles and they said, nope, they were told to list him as a fullback. So that comes from the higher ups. Now, again, it's March 13th, and the coaching staff could change their mind all the way throughout the offseason. They could say, you know what? Ben's a better linebacker. Let's put him back at linebacker. So it could still go a lot of ways. But for now, the Eagles consider Ben VanSumeren a fullback.
I love it. Ben VanSumeren season. Somebody called him Ben Van McMullen.
I don't know why. Why? Because I like Ben.
Yeah, they because you like Ben. You are a Ben supporter. I like it. I like it. VanSumeren.
Pacheco's a big Ben supporter too.
Is he?
Yeah, because Andrew's a football guy too. He knows what he's talking about. He's
Pacheco
big Ben.
went big time on us, didn't he?
He's he's got 97.5 duties all the time now. So
no, they all stopped letting people come on JAKIB. The latest one is PHLY. Now they're not allowed on JAKIB anymore.
Yeah, I know it's difficult. So
everybody's so territorial.
Yeah. What can you do?
Well, I laugh about it because they think it changes the build of whatever. I don't want to get into the business of it on the air, but I would say that they're all well wrong, especially in the new platforms on digital age. When you work together, it helps everybody. But they don't want to think like that, John. That's all right. We move onward and upward here, John. Let's talk about replacing. Let's talk Darius Slay. 10-year deal, $10 million. Fully guaranteed deal, 1-year deal for him in Pittsburgh. So he stays in the state of Pennsylvania, just goes over to Pittsburgh. His first time playing in the AFC. Slay is gone. Your thoughts on the money he got, and then we'll pivot to discussing what it looks like life after Darius Slay. It's been a good 5-year run with him.
Yeah, I would say, 3 Pro Bowls, 2 Super Bowls, Super Bowl championship, all as the cornerback one of some pretty good defenses. 3-time team captain. I think it's going to be difficult to replace, but I get it. I mean, the clock is ticking on Slay. 34, going to be 35 on New Year's Day next year. I get why they want to move on to Kaylee Ringo, but that's a big projection. It's kind of amazing. Stephon Gilmore, I talk about, they're the same guy to me. It's like, I don't know where Stephon Gilmore is going to play this year. If he wants to continue to play, Slay's going to play in Pittsburgh. They're going to be the best corners on their teams. Wherever they go, they are.
Even at 35.
He was last year. I know people don't think he was, but he was. He was given the most responsibility. He was still the cornerback one when they did do different things, which is rare with Vic, but
wasn't graded out the highest on the team.
No, but again, it's the same thing with, technically Milton Williams is graded higher as a pass rusher than Jalen Carter, but I think you can see, the impact of Jalen Carter. Slay's the one who gets all the responsibility. His job is bigger, or had been bigger. Now Quinyon will step up into that role. And by the way, that's a different role. It's not going to be as easy. That's an underreported part of this as well. Now, at some point, it is going to happen. I don't know when it's going to happen. The downfall, maybe it happens this year. So from the Eagles' perspective, I just, when I'm talking about the Gilmore thing and Slay, and when I said they're going to be the best cornerbacks on their team, I'm saying that's what I would bet on because it keeps happening. At some point, they're going to fall off a cliff because it's a young man's game. And the Eagles are subscribing to the old adage, better to give up on a player a year early than a year late. And I don't necessarily disagree with that. I said the same thing with Minnesota. They got to get better. You can't rely on a 34, 35-year-old corner. You got to turn the page. You got to restart. You got to get younger. So I get it from the Eagles' perspective, but I think people are going to notice him not being back there, especially early. Hopefully, guys settle down with their new roles, but I think it's going to be noticeable early.
Is Keely right now, you think, the leader in the clubhouse to get that job? I think it's similar to what we talked about earlier in the show. They're probably going to bring in some competition and make him earn it, but
yeah.
he's
Definitely the leader. I mean, this is about Keely Ringo. This one. Everything's a little bit different.
That concerns me a little, John. Keely didn't even beat out Isaiah Rodgers last year to be the backup.
Yeah, I think that's, again, that is assuming that, there's different roles. Like cornerback 3 is a different role than a starter. As a veteran guy, he's probably better prepared to go in game if somebody gets banged up. It's a different role than just starting and being out there. I used a basketball comparison with that utility guy versus I'm playing every day. Some people can't be a utility guy because they need consistent at bats. They can't get into a blow if they're just going in cold. And usually veteran players, and not that Isaiah's been playing for a ton of time, but he's got experience, and that was his role, and he was better at it. I think ultimately, if Slay or Mitchell, and you never want to say that, got hurt and we're out for the season, I think you would have seen that shift. And I think they would have tried Ringo as the full-time starter. Don't know that for a fact, but I know they believe his upside is much higher. So I think they would have went that direction. Luckily, it didn't happen. You never want to see anybody get hurt, but I think they're different roles. And I think the presumption is why they let Isaiah walk out the door. They don't look at him as a starting quarterback. That's the whole point. They think he's a good backup corner. They think he's a really good cornerback 3, and so do I. That's what I think he is. And I think if he starts in Minnesota, they're probably going to be disappointed.
I don't know if he's going to start. I don't know. I mean, the deal he got was decent, but he got 2 years, 15 mil, 8 mil guaranteed.
Yeah. They have Byron Murphy, who's really good, and he's one starter, and he plays outside and inside, so he'll play the slot, but when they have outside, he'll play outside. Then they have Rodgers, and they might bring Stephon Gilmore back, or they have a young kid named Mekhi Blackman who was hurt last year.
I think they just paid huge money to a corner too, didn't they?
Murphy.
Yeah, Murphy.
He's their best corner. He's a good. He's really good, and he's very versatile. But if Gilmore comes back, and I don't know if he is, but if he comes back, he's going to be better than Rodgers. He just is.
Right. But with even if he is, it's a good insurance policy that.
I think he's a great. I think he's a great.
Even in the Super Bowl, Slay missed the play or whatever it was in the Super Bowl. Isaiah comes in and breaks.
And even before Mitchell got a concussion, he did a phenomenal job as a cornerback 3. But he was a cornerback 3, and it also helps have the Eagles pass rush. That helps too. But
number 1 overall defense in the NFL helps anybody in coverage.
I think he's a very good player. I just don't think he's a starting corner. There's too many size deficiencies. I just
that doesn't exist in your opinion with Keely Ringo. Obviously, size is no Keely. I mean,
he's got everything you look for.
Right.
When I talked about Josh Sweat at edge rusher, he is Hollywood Central casting for a 2025 outside NFL cornerback. It's exactly what you want. 6'2", length, physicality, can run. It's exactly what you want. Now, does he have the technique and the savvy and all that kind of stuff?
Doesn't always translate, but
to be determined. But from a physical standpoint, he's got everything you want. They look for us in an outside corner.
So if you had a guess right now, you don't think they're going to add somebody to be the starter, do you? Maybe they would add like a competition piece, but they're not going to add like a starting cornerback.
No, but I do think they'll add a corner to make sure, a corner with some experience or some upside that if Ringo doesn't perform, a Devin White placeholder as a veteran.
Don't bring up that name. What happened to Devin White? Did he get cut? Is he on the open market now?
Yeah, he was in Houston last year, but yeah, he's a free agent.
Yeah, we'll see what ends up happening there. Good stuff, Johnny Mac. John, going over to safety, what do you see there? Who's slotting in for CJ Gardner-Johnson? I know it's Sidney Brown right now, but that's one I think they're definitely going to bring in a name.
By the way, the Justin Reed, I'm glad you brought that up. I was told the Eagles, not that they didn't have it, but they weren't even close to.
I figured that. I said that. I thought that when it came out. I'm like, everybody's like, oh, it shows you that they want to pay a safety. I'm like, I don't think they were in.
Yeah, I think they were in at 1 year, whatever. And they weren't even close to winning that. Not that they weren't interested but in a very disciplined way, they were interested.
Yeah.
And they weren't outbid at the last minute.
Probably like, hey, Reed, if you don't get the contract you want, come play here for a year with the #1 defense. You'll have a great year and you'll get paid massive money next year. If that interests you, give us a call.
Yeah, I think it was more of a 1 year thing, but I thought that was overblown. But they want Sidney Brown to compete. But again, same thing. They have the same philosophy at every position. They want these young players to perform, but they need safety nets. And they have to add somebody as a safety net. Now, I do think, Georgia's pro day was yesterday.
Yeah.
Everybody, Nolan Smith was there, but all 32 teams were there, as you can imagine.
Obviously,
as they should be.
Yeah.
And I don't think Malachi Starks is going to last to 32. But I do think, if some reason, and everybody was raving about him yesterday, so I think it's less likely today than it was before yesterday. I think you have to consider that now. And if you're able to bring somebody with that kind of upside in, that changes the dichotomy. You're always trying to look better, trying to get better. I think a lot of people say, well, the plan is this, and you don't deviate from the plan, especially in the draft. Well, if you can get a good player, get a good player, and then let the chips fall where they may. But for what the Eagles have right now, they want Sidney Brown to compete and have an opportunity to be that guy. Doesn't mean he's going to be that guy. Like I said, if Malachi Starks is there, take Malachi Starks, and he's your starter.
You think they would, even if he was there? I'm not sold that they would do that. I think right now, John, they're in a spot where they want to get the most value out of their first-round picks, and I don't think they see that in a safety. Even if he plays amazing, it's not as valuable of a player on a rookie contract versus if you take an edge or a tackle, you're maxing out your value on that deal. And I think right now, with the way they are in the cap setup, they want max value out of those first picks. Now, maybe I'm wrong, but that's just what I think they're going to do.
Well, I'm not saying they're going to take him. I'm saying I think that's on like before. I don't even think it was a possibility. Now it's a possibility.
Okay, that's fair.
I still think the odds are to heavily trend towards defensive front wherever that first pick is taken, for a couple of reasons. One, they need to replenish, and two, it's a deep position. So in theory, whether they're picking 32nd or 39th or 40th, it's more likely that a player they like is going to be there on the defensive front than any other position. That's why I lean that way, and I still think that's the way it'll end up. But
good stuff there, John. We'll see what ends up happening with all this stuff. I got a couple of chats I want to read from the great people of JAKIB Nation. We appreciate all you guys being here. Brandon Lewis, people acting like CJ was prime Ed Reed. No, he was not. Jason A-Team says, Zander, also, Rodgers was on a 1-year deal. The Eagles like to help their 1-year guys get paid where we have Ringo under contract and he's young, so another developmental year while Rodgers got playing time to up his stock. Well, Jason, I love you, brother, but I don't think that's why Isaiah Rodgers played above Keely Ringo last year, because they wanted to up his stock. I'm sorry, I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't agree with that. The Eagles are not about helping out others. Teams or, they went, it worked out for them on a short-term deal with Isaiah Rodgers. That's how they look at it. But the goal is not to up a stock. I agree with Zander.
Jason followed up and said, I don't think it was anything more than that with Ringo. Well, Jason, you already know our response. I don't agree, and it doesn't sound like John does either. But appreciate you checking in, Jason. Appreciate everybody being here. John, moving forward now with those guys we talked about, I feel decently confident in Keely Ringo. We haven't seen it yet, but I know the player, and I loved him at Georgia. I mean, I'm an Alabama fan. We used to go up against him, and we didn't throw at him. That's how good he was in college. I think people forget how good of a player he was in the SEC at the University of Georgia. But, who are some
I think if he would have stayed, he would have been a first-round pick.
Yeah, I agree. One extra year. I'm not sure why he didn't, honestly.
Well, sometimes it's, there's a lot of personal aspect to that. Sometimes people have to leave,
right? Money
to help out their family or something. There's a million things, but he was a high level. I think there was still a surprise that he lasted to the 4th round. So I think, he probably got some bad advice. He probably got told he was going 2nd, 3rd round, certainly day 2 at the worst case. And you saw how the Eagles leaped when he was there in day 4. Giving up a future 3 to get him. So a lot of things factor into that when guys leave. But if he would have stayed, he's so young too. He came in, he was the youngest player in the NFL when he was a rookie. And he's only 23 now. So he's younger than some of the cornerbacks you'll see coming in to the NFL this season as rookies.
Right.
So you have that part of it to enter into the equation. Really high prospect from the Eagles' perspective.
Good stuff there, Johnny Mac. John, I do want to keep everybody updated on the other news that's around in the NFL. The Eagles did agree. We talked about it on the show before. The Eagles did agree to the White House thing, so they're going to go to the White House. It's like right after the draft. I think I was like, why did you do it?
Timing, man.
Yeah, 2 days after the draft. That's not good timing. But they are going to do that. I just want to alert people of that for anybody interested.
April 28th. Yeah, should have mentioned that. April 28th.
Any other news like that in Eagle Land that we missed or left out on the shows? I know we've been not bogged down, but reacting and discussing all of the free agency moves in the NFL. But sometimes stuff falls under the radar like that.
No, nothing. No, nothing off the field besides that. There's some community stuff, but don't really get involved in that. But yeah, I mean, White House is pretty cool. I encourage everybody to put their partisan nonsense away and just celebrate the stinking team and let them go. And don't pressure guys. If they want to go, let them go. If they don't want to go, who cares?
Are you going to go? That's what
I
want to. Can I go? I want to go. Yo, Bob Lang, give me a call. I want to go to the freaking White House.
I'd like to go, but that is bad timing, man. I'm going to be exhausted after.
I know, right after the NFL draft.
The draft is brutal for people that cover it. So
I'm looking forward to the draft. I'll be live basically the whole 3-day run, and then we'll bring John on when the Eagles make picks. But it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a fun NFL draft this year. I don't know that the Eagles don't have many top picks, so it's not as exciting. But we will see what ends up happening there. Speaking of the draft, John, we just talked about a secondary guy in Malachi Starks at Georgia. Another guy that seems to be, has really caught fire. Everybody's talking about him. Is that Nick Emenwari from South Carolina? You think he would be an option if he were to fall?
No shot.
Yeah, where's he going to go? Top 10, top 20?
I'm going to be comfortable. I'll say top 20, but no shot he gets to 32. The athletic testing was just outrageous.
Yeah.
Yeah. If he falls to 32, I would be stunned. I would think top 15.
If
Too
he,
good.
if he did fall to 32, it sounds like Johnny Mack would take him.
Yeah, but that's not gonna. It's not realistic.
Yeah.
But one of my favorite quotes from Saquon this year. Somebody asked him a question. It was a dumb question. I apologize. I don't remember who asked it. It was a really dumb question. It was about, did the Eagles have any interest in him in 2018? He's like, he kind of smiled and he's like, because the Eagles just won the Super Bowl. They were picking 32nd.
Right.
And he said, well, man, because Saquon's very nice and very professional.
He is. He seems like such a genuine dude. I mean,
he is. And he's not going to throw anybody under the bus. So we just said, my draft experience was kind of unique. And he was trying to be humble. And he's like, I was
only a couple teams could talk to me, right?
I was going to go pretty high. And, most of the teams were, yep, we're not going to be able to get you. And that was it. And that's obviously what the Eagles were in, that no shot of getting him. Now that, he went number 2 overall. Emmett Ward is not in that category, but no shot the Eagles are going to get him.
We'll see what ends up happening in the draft. John, to me, maybe I'm thinking about it too simply, but the draft this year, it's really deep, people say, at the defensive line and defensive ends. The Eagles need defensive tackles and defensive ends. Just draft the fucking defensive lineman. Now, I think they're going to do that, but that's my take. That's why I'm like, even if
Well, that's why I said it's odds related. That's why.
I'm taking the defensive lineman in this draft, maybe with both the top 2 picks, and then I'll talk about
it comes down to the position you are. At 32, is there going to be somebody you like? You don't just take the next guy on Daniel Jeremiah's board or Mel Kiper's board. And I get the draft, there's a big group think narrative because everybody listens to the same guys. And, what Dane Brugler, whoever you liked as a draft guy, Ian Cummings, our guy, Devin Jackson does a tremendous job. All these guys, Rick Saratella, my buddy, does a tremendous job.
We should. I got to text Rick. Maybe we'll get Rick on the show. I miss Rick.
They all do a great job, but they're not. NFL teams are doing their own work, and they're not listening to Mel Kiper. If somebody is there that you think should be taken because Mel or anybody you like, it doesn't mean the Eagles are going to like him. So it always comes down to who's available at the spot and where the Eagles have him rated. And all smart teams operate the same way. And if generally the Eagles do it in clusters, they have a group of players that will have the same grade. And, always go back to the Devontae Smith year. They had 5 players they were comfortable with taking at 12. Coming in, they knew the guys they weren't going to be able to get, and there were 5 players they were comfortable with. 4 of them went, and Devontae was the last one. And they knew he wasn't getting past the Giants at 11, so they had to go up and get him. That's how they do it.
That was one of my favorite draft stories recently. The Cowboys and the Giants collude to F over the Giants. The Cowboys and the Eagles collude to F over the Giants, and both Cowboys and Eagles make a great pick. Eagles got Devontae Smith. Cowboys get Micah Parsons, and the Giants are trade back for who? Kadarius
Toney. Yeah. It's a Super Bowl hero, though, if you look at it that way.
True. Well, not for the Giants, though.
Not for the Giants.
Not for the Giants. Not for the Giants. Jason, A-Team checks in $20. Thank you, brother. Appreciate that, man. I appreciate your support, A-Team. I love you, brother. One of our legend members here. He says, also, Rodgers was a somewhat proven commodity before, where Ringo is a question mark as well, is more what I mean. Rodgers is a better backup because he doesn't need playing time like Ringo to know what to do. He's better plug-in. I see what you're saying, Jason. I don't know if that
exactly what I said. Jason's 100%. They're different roles. Cornerback 3 is not a starting corner.
Right.
It's easier for somebody with experience to go in cold than it is for a younger player who hasn't played much in general. some guys are just naturals and they can go in and do anything. But that's why I always bring up the baseball analogy. It's different being a utility man than going out and playing every day. And some guys are better suited to be utility men. And there's a lot of young players who need consistent playing time to get in a groove. I think that's what the Eagles felt with Ringo last year. I think the assumption is that Rodgers was ahead of Ringo, which he was, but that blanket assessment means he would have been the starter this year if they could have got him back. I don't think that's the case. Now, I think the Eagles would have liked to have had him back at 1 year as the safety net to compete, because they don't just want to hand Ringo the job. I think that would have been the best case scenario. But I think, secretly, the fingers would have been crossed that Ringo takes the job. Muted, Zander.
I like Ringo a lot. I mean, I loved him in college. My concern is just that you had the #1 overall defense, which was such a big part in your success this year. How big of a drop-off is it going to be? I do believe in Keeley, though, in the long term. I wonder what they're going to do if he's going to be ready to go this year. We will see. Johnny Mac, we got 10 minutes left on the show today. I do want to recap, all right? They made their first signing yesterday, John. Woo!
Ooh.
AJ Dillon, baby. The best running team in the NFL adds a running back, and they're going to be a bully ball team again, Johnny Mac. John, let's recap it real quick. We'll recap some of the other losses that we've had, but that's the
well.
first.
Let me ask you. Let me turn it on you,
All right,
because
good.
you're far more optimistic and excited about this signing. I think it's just I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's low risk. Hopefully, turns into a good backup type of move. What is your dream scenario that works out here with AJ Dillon?
I think that's a good question. You brought it up last night where you're like, he's not good enough to be like a Montgomery where you're taking Saquon off the field. But my ideal scenario is,
by the way, nobody's good enough to take Saquon off.
No, I agree with that. My ideal scenario would be you have a guy that refills what Kenny Gainwell was. He can block when he's on the field. He can be a pass protector when he's on the field, and he brings that physicality. So, like I said earlier, we've been a physical football team. I don't necessarily think Kenny Gainwell was a physical player. You put him in, you continue to beat up on the defense. It works to your overall game plan, and you give Saquon some plays off here and there. Also late in games, you have a lead and you're running out the clock. Hand it to AJ Dillon. Let him beat up on the defense. Let him keep pounding the clock. I don't know if he's going to be good for that. I mean, you're right. He could not work out at all, but I guess
it's not that. But hey, my standpoint is, you want to take Saquon off the field. That's the optimistic part. I get the people that want to play the. It's funny because I think, load management obviously became a thing more in the NBA, and everybody hates it. They hate it. They constantly complain about it, and then they want to do it and take your best player.
I think there's got to be some nuance to that conversation, though, right? I mean, if you're in a close game, you're not load managing Saquon, right?
Exactly.
If you have a 2-touchdown lead and you're trying to close out,
oh yeah, that's fine. They did that this year, though. They did that this year. They took him out of a bunch of. He would have set the rushing record in the regular season if they didn't have to take him. They took him out a bunch of blowout games. They've already done that. That's. Did we just answer our own question though? Like that's it. He's the replacement for Gainwell if he stays healthy. Take him out of games if you're in a good spot. If not, you're riding Saquon. Well, and that's fine. But I'm like, yeah. So rescale that optimism is what I'm saying. I mean, nobody's excited about Kenny Gainwell. Most people didn't like Kenny when he was on the field.
That's fair.
If you want, him on the field, I don't think that's the proper way to go about it. I'm not taking Saquon off the field. Period. I'm riding him.
Well, now you have 2 more years of guaranteed money, John. That would be 3 years. You're going to give him 440 carries for 3 straight years.
Hey, TD did it for 2 years. And if I get 2 years, I'm fine with it.
Yeah, but the Eagles just bet on another year. That's the thing.
They can get out of it. It's fine. It's fine. If they get 2 years, fine. I'm not trying to pitch count them to get to a second year. I mean, I just spent, and they might turn their trend, but Nick Sirianni used to get so frustrated because he was asked about this on a weekly basis. And basically would get so frustrated about it. And he's like, and they'll manage him during the week and he won't do anything in training camp and OTAs. He won't even practice for the second half of the season, essentially. That's how they load manage him. I'm not taking him off the field, period. Not for fucking AJ Dillon, not for Kenny Gainwell. Are you kidding me? I'm not taking him off the field if he's healthy. Now, if he's not healthy, that's a different conversation. And like I said, you need 3 backs.
Yeah.
And it might go that way where Will's the backup on game day. And if Saquon sprains an ankle and he can't go for a week, then you let AJ be the lead back and keep Will in that second role. I'd like that thought process if it works out. But what I'm not doing is taking Saquon Barkley off the field to get AJ Dillon on the field.
Well, with that being said, that's why you're not going to go and sign somebody that's crazy good. So in a way, Saquon's not going to play every down. Even if you're not taking him off the field, he's not going to play every down. No. So is he good for the role? I mean, again, I don't expect an all pro.
Yeah, that's about health. I was just because, you're pretty excited. Maybe it was, pumping it up for the crowd, but I there's a limitation to it is all.
Yeah, I just think he's got experience. I think in the NFC cold weather football that fits him well. He's a physical player. We've become a very physical offensive football team. It's going to be very low cost. Nobody's worried about the cost.
I'm not worried about the cost.
Yeah, I know. And
you can get out of this. You can get out of the AJ Dillon
great
business.
Pass protection grades, John. Really good pass protection grades for him. So that's an advantage, I think. Kenny Gainwell obviously wasn't great at that.
Yeah. No, they weren't. There aren't many good pass protectors. I'll have to see that. But
yeah, well, he's 6 foot 250, so he is a little bit of a bigger guy. And by the way, before the neck stingers, he was super reliable. He didn't miss basically any games in his career outside of like COVID. I think he missed a couple games in COVID.
No, but that's pretty big matzo ball, as they say. He missed an entire season.
Well, I'm not saying he's like the John. If there's an AJ Brown, we didn't sign Saquon Barkley, but yeah, at some level of excitement. I like the player. I think he's a good fit for the physical team, and he's going to be a solid backup running back. I feel like you're trying to pin me into a corner. Like I'm not
trying. I'm just amused by the optimism. Not even necessarily from you, because I got it from a lot of people on social media. They're really excited. Because they know the name.
John. That's what fans are, man. I mean, they're fans.
They know the name. They know the name. And I liked the player. I remind everybody, I liked the player. Before the injury. But now they have Saquon Barkley. I'm not worried about, I'm fine with Will Shipley. I think Will Shipley is going to be the backup running back. A little Eagles news.
Oh, we got some.
Well, not big news. Kenyon Green and Dorian Thompson-Robinson going to have video conferences today.
Ooh,
so we'll get to see
the two big acquisitions.
The two big acquisitions. So we'll
Kenyon, yeah, he was bad, by the way. He was really bad. By the way, Jack Stoll, our former friend Jack Stoll.
Oh yeah, the Saints. I forgot to mention
the Saints. He's to the Saints with Kellen Moore. See you, Jack.
Yeah. Well, he was in Miami, so he didn't leave here. But
true. Left here last year.
No, he came back, but then he was claimed off waivers again. So he left, came back, left, and now he's on the Saints.
John, you want to beat me to a pulp on AJ Dillon? I am excited about it. Yes, I am. I think he's a solid.
Why are you excited about Kenyon Green or
I actually am excited about Kenyon Green. I put out a thing. I'm more optimistic on Kenyon. Now, he hasn't been good in the NFL. I know this, but I think he's got pretty good athletic traits, and I think.
Well,
Jeff,
he's a 50th pick of the draft.
well, so that's what I mean. Who's the last?
I'm far more.
Who's the last first round bust that Jeff Stoutland got his hands on? Now it's not going to work every time, but I do like it from that perspective. Very low risk and
Andre Dillard,
Mekhi Becton.
Oh, last that he got.
Bust that he got his hand. Yeah.
I thought you meant last he didn't.
That he didn't work out. Yeah, man. I don't know if that was a Stoutland thing or that was just strictly player couldn't play. I mean, that can always happen. Great coaching can only go so far.
Yes, it can. But yeah, if you ask me about the 3 acquisitions, I would be most excited, and I'm not excited, but most excited about Kenyon Green, despite the way he played in Houston.
I think that's fair. KCA goes AJ. Remember why we launched the Saquon journey? We're gonna have to do AJ Dillon giveaways now, Johnny Mac. We'll see what.
Well, you're gonna have to get that one specially made, so he at least makes the team.
I'm gonna have to get a sewing machine and make those suckers myself, the Dillon jerseys. But Johnny Mac, good stuff. Final couple minutes on the show. Your final thoughts. Lost a lot of players. All right, lost Isaiah, Milton, Sweat, Slay, Pickett, Oren Burks, CJ Gardner-Johnson, gone. Brought back Ben VanSumeren, and you got AJ Dillon in the till. All right, AJ Dillon in the till. Your final thoughts on this Thursday edition of Birds 365.
Patience. You will get some players. If you're excited about AJ Dillon, you will get some more players you're going to be excited about. That's my last message of the day.
John, you're taking shots this morning, my friend.
They're not shots. I'd like to. I'm the one who brought up AJ Dillon first.
No, I know, but I think you expect, people who are fans to think about it like you. I mean, they're not gonna. You're a reporter.
Well, I get, but that doesn't mean I'm going to default to make ballot.
Well, yeah, that's what makes you McMullen, and that's what makes fans. I mean, both need each other, Johnny Mac. That's how I view it.
Yeah, but I and I'm being literal about that. You're going to be more excited by, it's not over. You're going to be more excited. If you're excited by that, there's going to be some signings that you're even more excited by because they're going to be more meaningful. You don't need a running back.
John, at this point, I think you also have to factor in, okay, I understand what you're saying, and you're saying the bar is low for excitement for Eagles fans. To be fair, all right, free agency has started. Every team in the NFL is doing things, signing players, making moves. Woo! And that doesn't mean they're all going to work. But every fan base has something. The Eagles have lost Milton Williams, Josh Sweat, Darius Slay, CJ Gardner-Johnson, Oren Burks, Isaiah Rodgers, everybody. And we got one pickup, and we were excited about it, Johnny Mac. Cut us some slack, John.
No, because you got 3 pickups, and 2 of them are going to speak today. And one of them is at least, some meaningful upside, I would say. Some meaningful upside. And even Dorian Thompson-Robinson, first of all, the Eagles had a lot of interest in him coming out. Still a young player, forced to play, did not look good. But, you got 3 players. What? Because they're trades, they don't count?
I meant, that's fine. Yeah, you got 3.
Yeah, so, And one's a former number 15, broke my own rule. Got to put it in the swear jar.
To be fair, we traded away, a guy that people loved and
CJ 15th overall pick. Yeah, but people loved CJ because they never met CJ. That's I can't control what people love and people don't love.
Well, our love is not based on personal relationships or personal, things. It's based on the football team. It's based on what he does on the field, and he was a good player.
He was a good player. He was a good player, but he wasn't. To whoever said he wasn't Ed Reed, I said he wasn't Ronnie Lott.
Yeah, it wasn't B-Doc.
You're going to forget about him pretty quickly.
All right, we'll see. We got one super chat left, and I'll let you go here. All right, Bald Eagle. Eagles signed CJ Gardner-Johnson and Zach Bond last offseason. Who were fans more happy about, and who was more productive? Everybody relax.
Well, yeah. I mean, nobody saw Zach Bond coming. Even Howie admits that. Even Zach Bond admits that.
Yeah.
I think there's one guy who says they thought they knew
Yeah, I saw somebody do that. Like, oh, I knew Zach Bond.
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
you didn't fucking know
That's-
shit.
yeah.
All right. Zach Bond laughed at his own Pro Bowl, not all pro, his own Pro Bowl incentive. All right. Nobody knew shit, not Zach Bond or his agent or anybody. All right. I don't want to hear that crap. Brian Pumper says, respect Huey Ringo, respect Sidney Brown, and respect my dog, a.k.a. tight end one, Johnny Raymundo Wilson.
The stick to Johnny late. Pumper's late today with the
He's
Johnny
gonna
Wilson.
stick to it, man. He's gonna stick. We both told him this shtick was terrible, and he's sticking to it, John.
Well, I respect
I do too, because we
dedication to his craft. First of all, the Eagles got to move him to tight end first. Now they moved VanSumeren to fullback, so who knows? But I can tell you, Howie and Nick were both really, really, really emphatic that he's a wide receiver.
wide receiver couldn't catch a flick pass in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, well, I mean, everybody. I don't even blame that. I get.
I know.
People,
I'm just using that as an example.
but I mean, I think the assumption is 228 pounds. That is very, very big to be a wide receiver.
Yeah,
it is very, very small.
He's also like 6 foot. What is he? 6'6"?
He is very tall. He's listed as 6'6". He might even be taller. That's why people project. A lot of teams projecting him to be a tight end, but he's got to put on a lot of weight to be a tight end in the NFL. Now he's got the frame to do it.
Yeah,
but the Eagles weren't emphatic that he was a wide receiver.
Yeah,
I don't think he's a wide receiver or a tight end. How about that?
What do you think he is? He's just not an NFL player or what?
I don't think he was an NFL player last year. Doesn't mean he can't get better, but I don't think he played well last year.
All right, Johnny Mac. John, great show today, brother. We will probably talk to you later on today for a signing of the likes of, AJ Dillon, something like that, maybe a lower end guy. We'll see what they end up doing. Johnny Mac, great show today, brother. We will catch you tomorrow on Birds 365 and maybe later on today on Football 24/7. Thank you, brother.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
All right, there's Johnny Mac. Johnny Mac checking in today. Birds 365, a great episode, another great episode. It's already Thursday. We joined the show today. I'm like, Wednesday. Fucking week is flying. Johnny Mac seemed a little grumpy to me today. I don't know if he was or if he wasn't. He was having a little bit of fun with his grumpiness. I always get a kick out of that. He's like, he turns it on me. He's like, why are you excited about AJ Dillon? He turned his grump into, why are you excited about AJ Dillon? Hilarious. Gotta love Johnny Mac. Bald Eagle. Why do Eagles have more faith in A. Smith or Wilson? I don't know, because they drafted him, I guess. I'm not really too optimistic on any of them. Anaya Smith or Johnny Wilson. I don't really think either of them hit. You remember like a couple years back when we drafted same thing. We drafted a wide receiver in like the 5th and 6th round. I think it was Quez Watkins in the 5th, or maybe it was John Hightower in the 5th and Quez in the 6th. They were two better picks. I mean, I'm not a big Quez Watkins fan, but they worked out better so far than Johnny Wilson and Anaya Smith had. You remember John Hightower had that touchdown pass? He caught it from, I think it was Carson Wentz, threw it out to the left side, left hash to John Hightower, who kind of did like a little 360 action, and then he got into the. Do you guys remember this touchdown? Am I tripping? You guys remember that? John Hightower even got a touchdown. Hey, handsome. He got a touchdown. He got a touchdown, didn't he? Yeah, Anaya Smith can't do shit. Anaya Smith didn't do shit. Any new news, Big Z? Other than AJ Dillon, nothing. Oh, Bray, nothing. Other than AJ Dillon signing, we got nothing. And John's mad. I'm excited about our only move. John, I will not let you take the joy out of me. All right, John, if you're listening. Zander, make sure you say Super Bowl champion. I will say that. That's something he's got over Hightower. All right. That's something he's got over Hightower. You guys must remember the John Hightower touchdown, no? You don't remember this Hightower touchdown? Are you tripping? You don't remember it? John Hightower, Eagles touchdown. Let me search it. Oh, it might it must have been a preseason game or something. Because right now the register is showing 0 touchdowns. I could have swore he had a touchdown. You got to be kidding me. Yeah, here it is. Versus the Giants. Yes. Oh, no. Yes, that's Hightower. All right, that wasn't a touchdown. Had to be a preseason game. Dre, you've only been watching for 2 years. You're an Eagles fan for 2 years. Boy, you must be. You must be high on life. The team won it all in your second year as a fan. John Hightower is he in the league still? Oh, he's in the UFL now. He's in the UFL. It was a punt. Game didn't count. Yes. Chris, thank you. I knew he did something. All right, but I guess preseason, yeah, it doesn't really count. Doesn't really count. More than Ainias Smith. Does Ainias have a touchdown? I'm blanking on that one. Ainias Smith's touchdown. He's got 1 touchdown. I have been proven wrong. Ainias Smith has been more productive in his career than John Hightower. Damn. Dre says it's been nice becoming an Eagle fan in the glory years. Dre, where are you from and why? How did you just? Are you younger? Are you like young? How old are you? I don't want to. I mean, you don't have to tell me your age if you don't want to. But why did you just now become an Eagle fan? I'm always interested in people's stories of how they became Eagles fans because, one of the things I love doing is breaking down the numbers on JAKIB, the analytics. Which, by the way, I love how we had one dude in here. The less subscribers than someone. I will put the JAKIB analytics up with any Eagle YouTuber, anybody. Our analytics are through the roof in terms of watch time and how long people spend on JAKIB. It's one thing to do 1 million views and people stick around for 30 seconds per view. It's another thing to do 1 million views and your average watch time is 40 plus minutes per view. I'll put our analytics up with anybody. And no, I don't give a shit about subscribers. All right? No, I don't give a shit about subscribers. All right, what do we got? What was I about to do? I forget what I was about to do. Except getting bounced in the first year of Bucks just watching the NFL. Go Birds. Per view. No land watching from Twitter. What's up, brother? Per view. I love it. Well, no, they give me an average watch time, like per view. That's what they give me. YouTube gives me that analytic. Dre Tucker. I wasn't watching the NFL, just Alabama. Bed being an Eagles fan. Oh, okay. So you're like me, Dre. You know what that is, right, Dre? Let me turn off my blur. Oh, by the way, I got to give a shout out. All right, I'll give a shout out today, too. Got a shout out for somebody. Dre. What's that? What is that? Zander, what's the Super Bowl stuff? I got a bunch of new merch coming. All right, here's what I did, though. I did T-shirts because we're moving into warm months. So I wasn't going to give away sweatshirts and shit, and I just bought the stuff they had on sale. So I bought like 35 T-shirts, all different Super Bowl T-shirts, and we're going to give them away. All right, I got some hats, too. All right, and I want to give a shout-out to my guy, 4 Reels Fishing. Look at how dope the Zander Kraft Show sign looks. Now, here's the one thing I'll say. I don't have the greatest camera in the world, all right? So it doesn't quite pick up as clear as I wish it did. But I'll tell you what, when you walk in this office, that thing looks so freaking sick on the wall, all right? So big shout out to 4 Reels Fishing for that, man. I love it, and I can't thank him enough. He sent me that. Zander, are you related to Joe Krause? Tanner, are you new here? It's my father. Tanner, you must be new, all right? You must be new. Looks good, brother. Thank you, brother. What's that hoodie? This is Red Bull Racing, bro. Look at this. Red Bull. Red Bull Racing, baby. Red Bull Racing, baby. I love a little Red Bull Racing. Eagle Nest, you're fucked. Wait, ready? Eagle nest. Look at this. Where is it? Where did it go? Oh, it's in a box, so I don't want to get it out, but I still have Eagle Nest. I still have your package. Literally, it's unopened still. It looks like it did when I sent it out. All right. Dawood. I'm not a big Lewis Hamilton fan, honestly. I'm not a big Lewis Hamilton fan. I like Verstappen. I respect greatness, though. And Lewis is certainly one of the greatest drivers of all time. So I respect that. I respect that. Bald Eagle, what's up? Super Bowl 43 is why I'm a football fan. Lido Shepherd. Lido! Whoa! I love that. That will randomly get stuck in my head, like on any given day. Just singing Lido. I love that. Bald Eagle. I remember exactly where I was for that hit. Yeah, that's an iconic hit, brother. Dre Tucker, Brian Denny, Saban Field. You know, I got this before they made it Saban Field. You know, Dre, I also thought I also thought it would have been appropriate to rename Brian Denny to Saban, but I know no, they don't want to do that. Yeah, Ivan. Big Z start to F1 on Sunday. That's why I'm rocking the sweatshirt. I got to catch up, though, man. I've been so busy. Like just grinding on JAKIB and trying to work on some other stuff now that we're adding to JAKIB. I got some great stuff coming for everybody. I mean, I don't know. You may or may not like it, but I'm going to improve all the production. I'm going to improve the graphics. I'm improving, the video editing that we're getting done. So I'm trying to really build on where we are now, and it's going to look different than it has. I'll use a Howie Roseman on you guys. It's going to look different. All right. Not in terms of what we have now, but previously when we just added like personalities, which by the way are way overrated for this business, way overrated. So we're going to be adding a bunch of stuff to improve, on the product and stuff right now, but looking forward to it. Dre, thank you, man. Appreciate it. McLaren P1, that's an insane car, bro. That is it. Abe, that's an insane car. Abe, if I ever hit the jackpot, if JAKIB ever became $1 billion entity, if I ever make it big in life, I'll buy you a McLaren P1, and I'll get myself one too. All right, I'll get myself one too. You can hold me to that, Abe. All right, you can hold me to that. If I ever make it big, Abe, and I have the liquid cash to buy 2 McLaren P1s, how much does a McLaren P1 cost? 1.5 to 2 million per car. All right. 1.5 to 2 million per car. Pretty crazy. Pretty crazy stuff. But if I ever make it, Abe, I got you. GTRs. Ooh, nice. You're a GTR guy. I'm not a big Nissan guy. I'm not going to lie to you. Not a huge Nissan. All right. But they're pretty expensive too, aren't they? They're like $230, $250, aren't they? You know what I want, Abe? If you're going a lower, like a Nissan or a Ford or something like that, but you're going higher end, I want the new Mustang GTD, bro. Nah, I'm handsome. I don't love Bugattis. I'm not gonna lie to you. They're not my favorite. Not my favorite. I don't think the look is that good. I know they're crazy. I get it, but not my favorite. Not my favorite. All right, everybody. I'm getting out of here. Wait, did I miss any super chats? No, I got them all. Appreciate all you guys for checking in, dropping some super chats. I will have more giveaways coming. All right. Here's the thing with the giveaways in the future. And by the way, I've already talked to my guy who's getting me all my jerseys. They're just not getting them right now because there's not a big enough market. So, he could do a custom order for me. I might do that later, maybe after the draft when we get a new player. Maybe I'll give away some stuff. But, I'll have a bunch of giveaways for next season, obviously. But for the offseason, I'm going to try and order, just some stuff here and there to give away to the channel. You bagged a Q8. Nate the God. I like that. 67 Mustang GT 500. Dank Bergen. That is a fun-ass car. I would love to get an old 60s Mustang. But I got to have a lot of extra liquid cash to do that, bro. I got to be sitting on a bag of money. Right now, I'm, not there. Q7? Nate, Abe, you're rocking a Q7? Hey, boy, is there something about you I don't know, Abe? There might be. There's plenty of stuff, I'm sure. All right, everybody. I appreciate you all, man. Eagles made some moves, not many, but AJ Dillon's back, or not back, is here in Philly. John wanted to poo-poo the move. I like it. I get it. I get the downside. I get the upside, but I like it. I like the physicality he brings it to the offense. So I'm good on it for that reason. But, you know, we'll see how it all plays out this season. They do have some work to do. That's what I drive, Hustler. I got a pickup right now. I used to have a Mustang 5.0. I loved that car. But, you know, you get a little older and you got to do stuff. And the reason I have a pickup is because it's super easy with all gear. So if I ever go anywhere, like when I drove into the city, hey, it's not my bedroom, Ace. Fuck you, dickhead. Look at this dude. Look at this douche. I love how you call your bedroom the studio. This is a studio, dick. You want to see it? Where's the bed? Find me the bed. Find me the bed, jerk off. Huh? Fucking douche. And then he goes, LOL, yo, you're so funny. Yeah, hey, Ace. Fuck you, Ace. Get the fuck out of here. Nerd. We'll be on later. I think so. I think we'll be on again for another one. But Handsome, to answer your question again, all right? To answer your question, when I went down to the city for the parade, like I was down there at 4:45. We loaded up the truck with everything I needed to go live from the city, and boom, it was easy as hell to do. So, yeah, our segments with Cilio are fantastic. I love it. Yeah, Ace, you messed with the wrong guy, Ace. I'm not here to be messed with, all right? Go mess with your mother. Don't mess with me. All right, I love all you guys, even Ace. I appreciate each one of you. Appreciate your support. Appreciate everything you guys have done for growing the channel. We've had a lot of fun so far this offseason, and it's going to keep getting better and better and better. Asante Samuel Jr., I don't know, man. Can't hit. Not my favorite. I'd rather have a guy that can hit. He can stay in the AFC. You know, they don't need a hit over there. By the way, I was thinking about this. I love Slay and all, and I'm appreciative of what he did, but you think he's going to have a harder time in the AFC with those quarterbacks? I mean, let's be real. The NFC is good, but they don't have quarterbacks slinging the ball like the quarterbacks in the AFC are. They just don't. So, Eagle Nest says, are you planning to do live reactions for each day of the draft? I will be Eagle Nest. I'm not sure if you were here in the past, but we always do live reactions to the draft. What I'm thinking of doing, Eagle Nest, is I'm thinking of doing live all day on the draft. All right. I'm thinking it's going to be all day. And then what I'm going to do is after each pick, I'll bring on John, you know, and we'll have an instant reaction to the pick, but I'm probably going to be live all day on the draft. Not going to lie to you. And then we'll have clips that come out from those lives that, you know, instant reaction to each pick will be posted up on the channel as well. So that'll be good. I'm looking forward to doing that. David, love you too, man. I appreciate you. Ace, I love you too, Ace. Ace, I love you, but watch it. All right, Ace. Appreciate you, bro. All right, thanks, everybody. See you next time on Birds 365. Appreciate all you guys.
You've been listening to Birds 365, the destination for the passionate Eagles football fan who bleeds green. If it's Eagles football, we're talking about it. Debate inside the locker room and guests that are some of the greatest football minds from around the region. We hope you enjoyed the show. We know we had a blast. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll be back soon. But in the meantime, hook up with us on social media at JAKIB Sports. See you next time on Birds 365.